Some people do not leave your life all at once. They leave in pieces. First, they stop listening. Then they stop noticing. Then they stop caring. And the painful part is, you keep standing there, holding the door open for someone who already walked away in their heart. Funny, isn't it? A person can disappear without leaving, still replying, still watching, still pretending. But the soul knows. The soul always knows when love becomes obligation. You start reading old messages like a graveyard. You replay old memories hoping they feel different. You sit there at night imagining conversations that will never happen. And slowly, you begin abandoning yourself just to keep someone else from leaving. That is where destruction begins. Not when they walk away, not when they become cold, not even when they forget you. Destruction begins when you keep chasing people who already made peace with losing you. You call it loyalty, you call it love, but sometimes it is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of accepting that some people were only a chapter, not the entire story. Isn't that cruel? How the heart keeps knocking on doors the soul already knows are empty. Listen carefully. You are not weak because you care deeply. You are not broken because it still hurts. You are human. But there comes a moment when staying hurts more than leaving. And maybe, just maybe, God is removing from your hands what your pain keeps begging to hold. That people will watch you drown quietly. Not everybody who smiles at you wants peace for you. Some people enjoy your confusion. Some people enjoy your attachment. Some people enjoy knowing you will stay no matter how badly they treat you. Because loyalty in the wrong hands becomes self-destruction. You keep forgiving, keep understanding, keep explaining pain to people who already understood it the first time. They heard you. They just felt safe enough to ignore it. And one night, something changes inside a person. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Like a final candle dying in a cold room. You stop reacting the same. You stop chasing. You stop trying to force meaning into empty behavior. And strangely, that silence scares people more than your anger ever did. Funny world, They can survive your sadness. They can survive your tears, but they panic when you finally become calm. Because calm means acceptance. And acceptance is terrifying to people who thought they would always have access to your heart. You must understand something. Not every goodbye is punishment. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes Allah removes people because your future cannot survive your attachment to them. There are connections that look beautiful, but slowly poison discipline. Poison peace, poison self-respect. You lose focus, lose sleep, lose dignity, lose yourself trying to save something already collapsing. And the worst part? You know it is hurting you, but you still reach for it. Because humans become addicted to familiar pain. But healing begins the moment you stop asking why they changed and start asking why you abandoned yourself for people who did. Walk away quietly. No revenge, no screaming, no desperate speeches. Just leave with your dignity before your soul forgets what peace feels like. You know what exhaustion really is? It is not physical. It is waking up every day pretending something does not hurt anymore. It is carrying conversations in your head that ended months ago. It is imagining different outcomes, different words, different endings, as if thinking harder could change reality. But reality is cruel. Some people already made their decision long before you noticed the distance. You were still fighting for the connection while they were emotionally packing their bags. And that realization breaks pride, breaks innocence, breaks the version of you that still believed effort guarantees loyalty. No, effort does not control hearts. Love does not control hearts. Pain does not control hearts. People choose. And sometimes they choose themselves. That hurts when you would have sacrificed everything for them. You start questioning your worth, questioning your value, questioning whether you were difficult to love. But listen carefully. A person leaving does not automatically mean you were unworthy. Sometimes people leave because they are confused. Sometimes because they are selfish. Sometimes because they are weak. And sometimes because God is separating paths that were never meant to destroy each other forever. Still, the heart resists. The heart keeps reopening closed wounds just to feel close to someone again. You replay memories like they are sacred. A laugh, a voice, a late-night conversation. Tiny moments your soul secretly turned into a home. But memories are dangerous places to live, especially when the person you remember no longer exists the same way. People change. Sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, sometimes painfully. And maturity, real maturity, is accepting that not everybody is supposed to stay for every version of your life. Do not beg people to remain where they no longer feel sincere. Do not chain your peace to temporary humans, because one day you will finally understand something terrifying. The attachment was hurting you more than the loss itself. And that is when healing truly begins. Healing is ugly. Nobody talks about that part. They show you motivational quotes, fake smiles, peaceful sunsets, but they never show you the nights where a person sits alone, staring at the ceiling, trying not to break apart from memories. Healing is hearing their name and pretending your chest did not tighten. Healing is resisting the urge to check one more message, one more photo, one more sign that maybe they still care. And the terrifying thing? Sometimes they do care, just not enough. Not enough to stay consistent, not enough to protect your heart, not enough to stop hurting you. That is why confusion destroys people, because mixed signals create false hope. One good moment makes you ignore 10 painful ones. One soft sentence makes you excuse months of disrespect. Humans are strange creatures. We hold flowers with bleeding hands, then act surprised when the thorns cut deeper. You wanted honesty. You wanted peace. You wanted something pure. Instead, you learned silence, distance, disappointment. But maybe that lesson was necessary, because pain reveals things comfort hides. It reveals who truly values you, who only appears when convenient, who disappears the moment your soul becomes heavy. And slowly, you begin understanding something powerful. Not everybody deserves permanent access to your heart. Some people only knew the wounded version of you, the version that tolerated disrespect, the version that accepted crumbs because it feared loneliness. But that version cannot survive forever. One day, your soul becomes tired of surviving on almost love, tired of decoding behavior, tired of waiting, tired of feeling emotionally unsafe around people who promised comfort. And when that exhaustion finally reaches its limit, something cold enters your heart. Not hatred, clarity. You stop forcing connections. Stop begging for honesty. Stop chasing explanations from people committed to misunderstanding you. Because closure does not always arrive through conversations. Sometimes, closure arrives through silence, through distance, through accepting what actions kept repeating. And maybe the hardest truth of all is realizing you kept trying to save a connection that Allah was slowly pulling you away from for your own peace. And after all of that, after the sleepless nights, after the overthinking, after the silent battles nobody saw, you begin noticing something strange. The world keeps moving. Cars still pass outside. People still laugh in restaurants. The morning still arrives on time. Even after your heart broke. That realization feels insulting at first. How can life continue so normally when something inside you collapsed? But eventually, you understand the wisdom hidden inside that pain. Life never stopped for your heartbreak because your story is not over yet. You thought losing them was the end. You thought the emptiness would swallow you forever. You thought nobody would ever understand your silence again. But humans survive terrifying things. That is the frightening beauty of the soul. Even after betrayal, it still beats. Even after disappointment, it still hopes. Even after being abandoned, it still searches for meaning. And maybe that is why heartbreak changes people so deeply. Not because it destroys them, but because it introduces them to parts of themselves they never met before. The stronger boundaries, the quieter mindset, the colder discernment, the painful understanding that love without self-respect becomes humiliation. You start remembering every moment you ignored your intuition, every red flag you painted white, every excuse you made because you feared losing someone. Humans can be unbelievably dishonest with themselves, especially when attachment is involved. You knew. Deep down, you knew when conversations became forced. You knew when effort stopped being mutual. You knew when your presence started feeling tolerated instead of valued. But the heart The heart delays endings the mind already understands. And that delay costs people years of peace. Years. Imagine sacrificing your mental stability, your discipline, your connection with God, your sleep, your dignity, for someone who became comfortable hurting you. No. Never love another human so blindly that you begin abandoning yourself. Never chase people harder than you chase peace. Never become so emotionally dependent that one person controls the emotional climate of your entire life. Because attachment can become an addiction, an invisible addiction. You wait for messages like medicine. You crave attention like oxygen. You build your emotional stability around temporary reactions from temporary people. And when they pull away, everything inside you shakes. That is not peace. That is emotional captivity. But pain, real pain, eventually forces awareness. One day you wake up exhausted from carrying people who never carried you back. Exhausted from loving louder than your self-respect. Exhausted from constantly shrinking yourself to keep connections alive. And suddenly, you stop. No dramatic speech, no revenge, no final performance. You simply become quieter, more distant, more observant, more protective of your energy. And people notice. Funny enough, they often notice your absence only after they become unable to control your presence. That is human nature. Many people do not appreciate water until the well becomes dry. But do not let bitterness consume you. Not everybody who hurt you was purely evil. Some were immature. Some were lost. Some were fighting battles you never saw. And some were simply not meant to walk beside you forever. Accepting that truth is maturity. Not every connection is eternal. Not every goodbye is tragedy. Not every heartbreak is punishment. Sometimes Allah removes people because He heard conversations you did not, saw intentions you ignored, protected your future from attachments your emotions refuse to release. And maybe, years from now, you will look back at this pain with tears in your eyes, not because you miss them, but because you finally understand why losing them saved you. And the strange thing about survival is that nobody applauds you for it. Nobody sees the mornings you forced yourself out of bed while your chest felt heavy. Nobody sees the nights you almost sent the message, then stared at the screen in silence and deleted everything. Nobody sees the war between memory and dignity, because some battles happen so quietly, people mistake them for peace. But deep inside, you were fighting addiction to a voice, a presence, a feeling, a version of comfort your mind attached itself to. And withdrawal from emotional attachment can make a person feel physically broken. Your appetite changes, your sleep changes, your concentration disappears. Even simple things become exhausting because the mind keeps searching for what the heart lost. That is why healing requires discipline, not motivation, discipline. The discipline to stop reopening wounds, The discipline to stop romanticizing disrespect. The discipline to stop checking whether people regret losing you. Because sometimes they do regret it. But regret does not always create change. A guilty heart can still repeat the same behavior. Never confuse temporary emotions with genuine transformation. People cry and still betray. People apologize and still repeat patterns. People promise forever while secretly preparing to leave. Judge actions, consistency, effort, character, not beautiful words spoken during emotional moments. A calm soul pays attention to patterns, and patterns tell the truth faster than feelings ever will. That realization changes a person. You stop falling in love with potential. Stop becoming emotionally attached to fantasies. Stop building futures around people who barely know themselves. Because reality is brutal. Some people enter your life only to teach you what you should never tolerate again. That lesson hurts, but it saves you later. One heartbreak can awaken years of wisdom. One betrayal can force maturity. One painful goodbye can reconnect a person with discipline, prayer, self-respect, purpose. Pain has a terrifying ability to either destroy a human or rebuild one completely differently. And maybe that is why broken people often become unrecognizable afterward. Not because they lost emotions, because they finally learned boundaries. You become more careful with access, more protective of your peace, more aware of manipulation disguised as affection. You stop over-explaining yourself, stop begging to be understood, stop chasing closure from emotionally unavailable people. And slowly, silence becomes comforting again. Not lonely, peaceful. That is when true healing begins. Not when the memories disappear, not when the pain completely fades, but when your happiness no longer depends on who stayed and who left. When your mood is no longer controlled by replies, when your worth is no longer measured by attention, when your heart finally accepts that human beings are temporary, but Allah remains constant. And suddenly, the obsession weakens, the attachment loosens, the desperation fades. You still remember them, but they no longer control the emotional atmosphere inside your soul. That freedom is priceless. Because emotional peace is one of the rarest things a human can possess in this world. Protect it. Protect it more than your ego, more than your cravings, more than your temporary loneliness. Do not destroy your inner stability trying to force people to love you correctly. The right people will not require endless suffering to keep, and the wrong people will drain years from your life while convincing you the pain is normal. No. Love should not constantly feel like emotional survival. Real peace does not leave you confused every night. Real care does not repeatedly humiliate your spirit. And real strength is walking away before pain turns your heart cold toward the entire world. Do you know what truly changes a person? Not anger, not revenge. Disappointment. Pure disappointment has a terrifying silence to it. Because anger screams, Sadness cries, but disappointment just stares quietly. It sits inside a person and slowly removes illusion after illusion. The illusion that effort guarantees loyalty. The illusion that honesty guarantees honesty back. The illusion that loving deeply automatically means being valued deeply. Life does not work that way. Some people will watch you give them your purest intentions and still choose selfishness. That truth hurts the innocent version of a person, especially those who loved sincerely, because sincere people assume others think like them, care like them, protect hearts the same way they would, until reality teaches them otherwise. And reality can be merciless. You begin realizing how many times you ignored disrespect because you feared abandonment. How many times you accepted crumbs and called it love. How many nights you stayed emotionally available for people who disappeared whenever your soul became heavy. That awareness is painful. But it is necessary, because awareness breaks emotional slavery. Before awareness, you chase. After awareness, you observe. You stop reacting emotionally to every small change in behavior. You stop attaching your value to attention. You stop panicking when people become distant, not because you became cold, because you finally understand something powerful. People reveal themselves through consistency, not promises, not emotional speeches, not temporary affection during lonely moments. Consistency. A person who values you consistently protects your peace, respects your boundaries, communicates honestly, does not repeatedly place your heart in confusion. Confusion is not love. A healthy soul does not constantly leave you emotionally unstable. And once you experience enough pain, your tolerance changes. You stop begging for basic respect. Stop explaining obvious wounds. Stop trying to convince emotionally unavailable people to become emotionally safe. That phase exhausts the soul, especially when you are naturally patient. Patient people suffer differently. They keep understanding others until they forget to protect themselves. They keep forgiving until self-respect starts bleeding quietly inside them. But even the softest hearts reach a limit. And when that limit finally breaks, the silence afterward becomes terrifying. Not loud silence, cold silence. The kind where a person emotionally detaches without announcing it. No arguments anymore, no emotional chasing, no desperate attempts to repair everything alone. Just distance. And ironically, that is usually when people begin realizing your value. Human beings are strange. Some only appreciate warmth after feeling coldness. But by then, sometimes the soul is already tired. Too tired to rebuild the same broken cycle again. And honestly, that is not cruelty. That is self-preservation. There comes a moment in life where protecting your peace becomes more important than protecting every connection. Because not every relationship deserves access to your energy forever. Not every person deserves endless chances while your mental health slowly collapses. You must learn the difference between patience and self-destruction. Patience is noble. Patience is strength. Patience is trusting Allah during hardship. But tolerating repeated disrespect while losing yourself internally is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as loyalty. Fear of loneliness. Fear of emptiness, fear of starting over. But starting over peacefully is far better than staying trapped somewhere your spirit keeps dying slowly. Do not ignore that heaviness in your chest. Do not ignore constant anxiety around certain people. Do not ignore the exhaustion that appears after every interaction. The soul notices danger long before the mind accepts it. And rescue rarely feels gentle in the beginning. Sometimes it arrives through heartbreak, through distance, through unanswered messages, through nights filled with confusion and silence. Because humans become attached to familiarity, even when familiarity is hurting them. That is the frightening part. A person can become emotionally attached to suffering simply because it feels known. You keep returning to the same pain because at least it is familiar pain. The same disappointment, the same excuses, the same emotional instability. And slowly, your nervous system starts calling chaos love. That destroys people. You begin overanalyzing everything. A delayed reply feels terrifying. A cold tone ruins your entire night. A small change in behavior makes your chest heavy. That is not emotional safety. That is emotional exhaustion disguised as attachment. Real peace does not constantly make you question your value. Real care does not repeatedly leave you anxious and emotionally unstable. And deep down, you knew that. You knew every time your intuition whispered, "This connection is hurting you." But the heart negotiates with pain when it fears emptiness. So you stayed longer than you should have, loved harder than you should have, ignored yourself longer than you should have. Many strong people destroy themselves quietly this way. Not through violence, not through hatred, through emotional neglect toward themselves. Always understanding others, always excusing behavior, always trying to heal people while their own soul slowly collapses unnoticed. Until one day, they cannot do it anymore. Something inside them becomes exhausted beyond words. Not dramatic exhaustion, soul exhaustion. The kind that makes a person emotionally numb for a while. The kind that makes silence feel safer than conversation. The kind that makes isolation feel peaceful compared to emotional chaos. And honestly, sometimes isolation heals what constant emotional confusion destroyed. Not permanent isolation, not bitterness toward humanity, but temporary distance. Distance to think clearly. Distance to reconnect with Allah. Distance to hear your own thoughts without manipulation, guilt, noise, attachment. Because attachment clouds judgment. A deeply attached heart will ignore truths that would be obvious to a peaceful mind. That is why detached clarity feels almost frightening after heartbreak. Suddenly, you see everything differently. You see how little effort they actually gave. How often they disappeared when you needed sincerity. How many signs you ignored because your emotions were louder than your wisdom. And for a moment, you become angry at yourself. Not at them, at yourself. For accepting less than you deserved. For abandoning your peace trying to maintain unstable connections. For betraying your own intuition repeatedly. That realization hurts deeply, but do not remain trapped in guilt. You were learning boundaries, learning discernment, learning that not everybody who enters your life deserves permanent emotional access. Pain taught you what comfort never could. It taught you to slow down, to observe actions carefully, to stop confusing intensity with sincerity, because intense emotions can exist inside unhealthy connections too. Never forget that. Some of the deepest attachments are also the most damaging. That is why wisdom matters more than emotion. Because emotions change quickly, but truth leaves patterns, and patterns never lie for long. One day, you will thank God for removing the people your wounded heart once begged to keep. And maybe that is the hardest lesson of adulthood. Realizing that love alone is not enough to keep something healthy. People can love each other and still destroy each other emotionally. That truth confuses many hearts, because movies teach obsession, songs glorify suffering, the world romanticizes emotional chaos as if pain automatically makes something meaningful. No. Pain is not always proof of depth. Sometimes, pain is simply a warning. A warning that your soul is carrying more than it was designed to carry. And the terrifying part is, humans often notice damage only after their inner peace completely disappears. You stop recognizing yourself, your focus weakens, your prayers feel heavier, your motivation disappears. Your emotional state becomes dependent on another human being's behavior. That dependence is dangerous, because humans are unstable by nature. People change moods. People become distracted. People drift emotionally. People fail. And if your emotional stability is built entirely around another person, their instability becomes your destruction. That is why inner peace matters so much. Not fake peace, not social media peace, real peace. The kind that remains even when people leave. The kind that survives disappointment. The kind connected to faith, self-respect, emotional discipline. Because eventually, every human being learns a painful reality. Nothing in this world is guaranteed to stay forever, except Allah. Not people, not feelings, not attention, not comfort. Everything changes. And fighting that reality only increases suffering. Acceptance heals what resistance prolongs. Acceptance that some people were temporary. Acceptance that some chapters end painfully. Acceptance that not every connection is meant to become permanent. You do not have to hate them to let them go. That is maturity. Walking away without poisoning your heart, without revenge, without obsessing over proving your worth, without turning cold toward the entire world because one experience wounded you. Protecting your softness while still creating boundaries is one of the rarest strengths a human can develop. Many people become bitter after pain. Many become manipulative. Many become emotionally unavailable because they fear vulnerability now. But wisdom, real wisdom, teaches balance. To stay kind without becoming naive. To stay loving without abandoning self-respect. To stay patient without tolerating repeated emotional harm. That balance changes everything. Because suddenly, you stop seeking validation from people who cannot even validate themselves internally. You stop chasing attention from emotionally confused individuals. You stop trying to force deep connections with people committed to shallow behavior. And your standards rise. Not from arrogance, from awareness. Awareness of how expensive peace truly is. Once you lose your peace badly enough, you stop gambling with it carelessly. You become selective with energy, selective with closeness, selective with emotional access. Not everybody deserves your vulnerability. Some people only know how to consume goodness, not protect it. And that realization forces emotional maturity. You finally understand why silence became your comfort, why distance became necessary, why certain endings, although painful, slowly brought clarity back into your life. Because clarity often arrives after attachment weakens. Only then can you see patterns honestly. Only then can you admit how much pain you normalized. And honestly, that realization can make a person cry quietly. Not because they missed the connection, but because they finally see how long they abandoned themselves trying to save it. Never lose yourself begging temporary people to give permanent peace. Only Allah can provide that completely. And once you understand that, something inside you changes forever. You stop worshiping attention. Stop measuring your worth through replies, affection, validation. You become quieter. Not because life defeated you, because experience humbled you. Pain has a way of removing illusions from the human heart. The illusion that everybody is loyal. The illusion that intentions are always pure. The illusion that emotional attachment automatically means emotional safety. Some attachments destroy people slowly. Not dramatically. Quietly. You laugh less. Sleep less peacefully. Overthink more. Pray with a distracted heart. Lose focus on your purpose. And eventually, you realize you are carrying emotional weight that was never meant to become permanent. That realization hurts. Because letting go is painful when memories still feel alive inside you. The human heart remembers details nobody else notices. A specific laugh, a late-night conversation, a certain sentence, a moment that felt safe during difficult times. And sometimes, you do not even miss the person anymore. You miss who you were while loving them. That version of yourself, the hopeful version, the emotionally open version, the version that still believed effort could save everything. There is innocence in that kind of love. Dangerous innocence. Because innocent hearts often ignore warning signs while searching for emotional closeness. They keep giving chances, keep waiting, keep believing people will suddenly become who they promised to be. But reality speaks through patterns, not fantasies. A person repeatedly showing inconsistency is a pattern. A person repeatedly disappearing when accountability appears is a pattern. A person repeatedly making you emotionally anxious is a pattern. And wisdom begins when you stop arguing with reality. Accept people as they are, not as you hope they will become. That lesson protects years of your life, because hope without discernment can emotionally blind a person. You start investing loyalty into people who only offer temporary comfort. You start sacrificing peace, trying to maintain one-sided emotional connections. And eventually, your soul becomes exhausted from carrying relationships alone. Relationships were never meant to feel like constant survival. Real care brings calmness. Real sincerity brings emotional clarity. Real loyalty protects dignity instead of damaging it repeatedly. Not perfection. Nobody is perfect. But effort, consistent effort, matters deeply. And once you experience genuine peace, you stop romanticizing emotional chaos. You stop confusing anxiety with love. Stop confusing obsession with loyalty. Stop confusing suffering with emotional depth. That maturity changes your entire life. Because suddenly, you are no longer desperate for connection. You become careful instead. Careful about who influences your emotions. Careful about who enters your inner world. Careful about whose words you allow to affect your spirit. That is not coldness. That is wisdom earned through pain. And strangely, the more emotionally disciplined you become, the more peaceful solitude feels. Not empty solitude, healthy solitude. The kind where you finally hear your own thoughts again, without emotional noise constantly controlling you. You reconnect with your goals, reconnect with prayer, reconnect with discipline, reconnect with the version of yourself that existed before attachment consumed your peace. And one day, their absence stops feeling like a wound. It simply becomes part of your story. A painful chapter, an important lesson, a memory that shaped you without destroying you. And maybe that is real strength. Not pretending you never hurt, but surviving pain without letting it turn you into someone cruel. Because this world already contains enough bitterness, enough manipulation, enough emotionally damaged people hurting others because they never healed correctly. Do not become one of them.